On the agenda tonight, I'm going to be performing my own version of The Sound of Silence to show you how pitch correction is used in the modern day music industry. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Well, do we have a video tonight? Of course we do, but what I mean is that this has taken a lot longer to put together because I've sung through, I'm not sure singing is the correct term for it, but I've sung through The Sound of Silence, just a small section of it to show you guys how pitch correction works, because I do have a lot of questions regarding pitch correction and auto-tune, and I did a video comparing the two, but I've never done a video on pitch correction to show you exactly how it works and the process and what you do in order to change a vocal that is not very accurate into sounding like the person's hit the notes the whole way through the performance. So we're going to be having a listen to myself performing just the first section of the song. I did play it on acoustic guitar as well, so you'll be able to hear that, and I'm using that as a guide in my right ear. And you're going to hear the final product as it would come out of the studio. Of course, I've just thrown this together. They spend a long time in the studio applying pitch correction and editing it as they see fit. But we're going to have a listen to this final product, and then afterwards I'm going to play the original audio without the pitch correction applied. So let's get this full screen and let's jump into it.
Hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seats while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
So that is the final product, and listening to that you might feel like, hopefully, that I was relatively accurate and I was hitting the notes pretty much throughout the whole performance. So now what I'm going to do is play you the actual recording. So what you've just heard is after I've applied pitch correction to the vocal, and I'm going to show you afterwards exactly how I did that. But now we're going to be having a listen to the original audio.
Hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seats while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
And there we have it. So, I mean, the first question is, could you spot the difference between the two? So, I mean, this is really difficult just to do because, first of all, laughing was an issue. But then, considering that when I've learned to sing from scratch, hitting notes is the most important thing that I would consider singing to be, and getting my muscle memory to remember where the notes are. So now trying to force your voice to do it differently was really weird, but I wanted to try and hit the notes, well, miss the notes as much as possible, so that if those two voices that you heard just now on the original recording, as it was in front of this microphone, if you heard those voices, you might think, oh, those two guys can't sing. But I wanted to show that when you hear potentially a couple of people that can't sing, with pitch correction, you can move the notes so it sounds like they can sing. So, as I said at the beginning, we've got a little bit more to this analysis video because obviously I've got the takes of the vocals so I can play them in isolation, and I run them through the pitch monitoring software so that we can see the difference in the notes that are being hit, but also when I show you what I'm doing in Logic Pro 10, it will make sense as to what I'm adjusting. But let's just have a listen and look at the notes that I was missing.
Hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again.
So you can see that I'm actually doing quite a good job here of not getting on the lines. As I take it back, you'll see here, I started, you can hear that I'm well off. So I'm just letting my voice go wherever I want it to, irrespective of the guitar that I was listening to. And that was the hard bit. But again, let's have a listen and try and get used to this voice. And then I'm going to play the corrected version and we'll have a look at the lines on screen again.
I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seats while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
And there we have it. I can't stop laughing at this because I'm imagining someone up on stage actually doing this and singing like this. Given the fact that you've just bought their CD and they sounded totally different. So let's take this now to the pitch corrected version. Now look at the lines on the left hand side of the screen next to me, because those are corrected.
Hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seats while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
There we go. So that's the edited, pitch corrected version. And something that I'm going to mention here is that when I was pitch correcting this, I was doing it by ear, which I think is why, if we're looking at the vocal pitch monitor on the left hand side here, you can see that I'm not hitting the lines, but it still sounds correct. The intervals between the notes sound correct. And there's probably a very complicated reason for that, considering that I was listening to the guitar while I was pitch correcting it. So that's what I had in my memory, and that's what I was adjusting it to, which means that I'm probably placing the notes where I'm hearing them rather than sticking them on the lines, which I think because I'm a musician and I can hear where I think the notes should be, that's where I've put them. But I now realise that producers in the music industry are literally looking at this graph and sticking them to the lines, which would be considered 440 hertz equal temperament. But because I'm putting the notes where I'm hearing them, I think it's more akin to just temperament, which is a totally different thing, and how music works, rather than coming up with a system in order to organize notes into a graph and having 100 cents between notes. Anyway, it's quite complicated, but the way that I'm pitch correcting it is more hearing where the note should be. This brings up a bit of an uncomfortable discussion that if I can pitch correct my voice and make it look like a natural voice, how do we know that anything from now on is ever going to be the natural voice? If it's a recorded voice, it could be pitch corrected, and 99.9%, probably 100% of the time now, it is. So even when we start looking at the voice, and if I was doing an analysis of this, I'd say, oh look, you can see slightly sharp, bang on with the A sharp 3. So I've just unfortunately painted a bit of a bleak picture for the future of the music industry, but it also shows me that the producers that are applying pitch correction aren't doing it as musicians. They're looking at the graph and they're literally dragging the notes over these lines because they can't hear where the note actually should be. So just for a bit of fun, I was going to say, in a bit of a laugh, let's have a listen to the harmony line of this double act who've just secured their latest record deal. I say for a laugh, but I hesitate, because this is actually what can happen, and maybe what is happening. And the problem with this is that I haven't even spent any money on pitch correcting software. I don't use it myself on my own music. I don't use autotune. I don't use pitch correction. So I've never needed to buy the plugins. What I'm using here is literally what comes with Logic Pro 10. It's the most basic pitch correction you can get. But I think you'll agree that the results are quite stunning from hearing the original audio and how I've managed to make it sound. And after this, we'll jump into a screenshot, actually a screen capture of me actually doing this in Logic Pro 10, so you can see how fast the process is. But let's have a listen to this fantastic backing vocalist.
Hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seats while I was sleeping, and the vision that was painted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
I think actually that last note was probably an accurate one, but the thing about this particular performance, harmonizing with that lead vocal, you can see that I actually changed where Paul Simon holds a straight note. I've intentionally sung another note that doesn't actually exist, and I've still managed to correct that to make it sound like it was correct in the first place. So that was the original audio. Let's listen to the edited audio now.
Hello darkness, my old friend.
And you can see actually, as we jump straight into it, that I was hitting the semitone below that first D sharp 3. Here, the actual note should be the C sharp 3. So I missed it by a whole note. Even though this was relatively accurate, unfortunately, it was the wrong note. But correcting it, you don't notice.
I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping.
And now, on the original, we actually started quite accurately and then we went down. I mean, I'm singing the wrong note. When I say accurately, this is the wrong note. I'm just singing kind of probably a whole note off key. But I did drift down as well. So this shows you how you can pitch correct a vocal that even starts, this is nowhere near, but say for example it started somewhere near the note and then it drifted off. You can then still take that bit that drifted off and move it up to where it should be. But let's listen on.
Left its seats while I was sleeping, and the vision that was painted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
And there we have it. And you might see here, when I said about that last note being right, it wasn't. It was a whole semitone off. So when you're looking at these next to each other without looking at the notes, you might think, oh, they look quite similar. But on the right hand side, I'm hitting all of the wrong notes. I'll tell you what, let's listen to them both at the same time with the non-corrected version and listen to this beautiful music.
Sound of silence.
That actually did sound like some kind of robot voice. So, yeah, that's the difference between the two. Once it's been corrected, let's jump into how I did this. So, what I'm going to do now is make this full screen for you guys to be able to see. This is Logic Pro 10, and I'm going to take you through the process that I went through in order to make this all in tune. So, let's have a listen to... Hopefully, you'll be able to hear this. I remember that it didn't pick it up in the software, but I've turned it up so maybe you can hear it over the microphone. Let's have a listen. Oh yeah, we can just hear it. So here I've selected, this is my voice, and this is me singing it all out of tune. I've selected part of the vocal, which will usually be a word or a couple of words or a few words. you can select it, and then you go up to, and this is the pitch correction plugin, and it's actually called Time and Pitch Machine, I think. It's a bit small to see, but this just comes with Logic Pro 10. So you select what you want, and then you say where you want to move the note. And if you click on this number, actually, you click on it and drag up, that takes the note higher, and you click on it and drag down, and that takes the note lower. So if you want it to go higher, drag up and then go pre-listen, and you can listen to where the note's now been moved, and you can decide whether that's a good place or not. And if it's not quite there, you just adjust it a bit more, lower or higher, and then when you're happy with it, you process and paste. But then if you listen to it and it's still slightly off, you can undo it and just do the process again. So let's run this through and see what I get up to. You can see that I'm moving the number up and down here. Had a little listen. Right, so I thought, yeah, that sounds about right. So I'll save it. And I just listened to that first phrase together to see if it sounded like it was around the right kind of notes, which it was. So now I move on to the next section. And I heard that these two notes here were quite far apart pitch-wise, which is, of course, is what I'm going for. So I'm going to adjust them individually. There we go. So I've just done the first one. And now I'm listening to a slightly longer phrase here. Now all of it in context. And I thought, right, well, what I've done there so far, I mean, it sounds relatively accurate compared to what it was before. And this is the process. And you can see that I've already done quite a lot of this section. And you just literally, I mean, the difference is that I'm working through this having sung every note incorrectly and inaccurately. So it means that I have to go through all of this. But I mean, even looking at this, I let it play through because you can see that it's just a case of selecting whatever you want to change the pitch of. And here, look, that second part I thought was a little bit sharp, so then I just brought it down a bit. Then once it's where you want it, you literally just effectively save it. That's a little bit flat, so we select that and we lift it up. There we go, that's that done. And then final, that was sharp, so we take it down. There you go, and that's it done. Now listen to it all. Yeah, but anyway, you can start to get a bit of a vibe of how it works. And like I said, studios spend ages on this. This is just literally me. How long did that take me? What, a couple of minutes or a few minutes? And I didn't speed that up, by the way. That's just me doing it on the screen. So I've taken that whole section going na 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 na, and getting those notes from something that was totally out of tune. So hopefully this helps to make it clearer as to what happens with pitch correction, that you can literally go through every word, every note, and just select it, move it where you want it. Select it, move it where you want it. What I'm doing here would be seen as a really old-fashioned way of doing it because I haven't bought any software to do it. But I mean, if you had a spare half an hour even, you could easily do a whole song like this, like sing it all out of tune and then spend half an hour going through each of those words, each of those notes, just moving them up and down. And then in the end, you'll have that final lead vocal. But the irony is that I haven't hit any of these notes that you're hearing. So just to finish with, we're going to listen to my final performance again, but now knowing that I haven't hit any of these notes that you're hearing. Let's have a listen.
Hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seats while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
And there we have it. I'll tell you another thing. I can say that I did that in one take. So, another story from the studios. You can listen to that, and I can honestly say I did that in one take. Where the notes were, during that take is neither here nor there. That is my voice. I mean, this is one of those debates that it could go on for years, that I can argue that is my voice. But this is the point that I think a lot of people would argue against that, to say, well, no, that's not your voice. Your voice, we've already heard, didn't hit any of the notes, but then you used a machine to get the notes to be hit. Now, I mean, this is where the debate happens. Do you still class that as my voice, knowing it from the original that we heard? Or would you say that that isn't my voice because I didn't hit the notes? And this is the whole thing that I spoke about in the Milli Vanilli video, where I said that if today's technology existed, would people have had a problem if pitch correction was used on their voices and they couldn't sing? And again, you can do this in the studio. You can apply pitch correction, and now all I need to do is go out and mime to this. And would people have been happy with Milli Vanilli, for example, doing that, miming along to their own pitch corrected voices, or would they still have a problem with it? And if they did have a problem with it, it really does raise some serious questions about the music industry nowadays, because this could be your favourite singer. Just looking at me on the right hand side, giving the thumbs up, knowing the vocal that I've just produced, I've done that in one take, and the guy behind the desk, he's going to fix it all. So let's have a listen to this and see if you'd buy this particular record.
Hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seats while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
Okay guys, that is a take. We've nailed it in one. That's lunch. Just thinking of a producer having that take and that being good enough, saying, well, that's it. We've done our work for this particular session. If you go back and you listen to the original recordings from the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s as well, those vocals are natural and they don't have pitch correction applied to them. The technology that they had available to them back then, this literally wasn't possible to do in this kind of detail. It very much was just trying to edit larger sections, larger chunks, even getting a vocalist to sing in a different key, say for example a semitone lower, and then they speed up the tape in order to get it a semitone higher. But it still means that the singers had to sing accurately in a different key, so you still needed the ability to sing. So yeah, now hopefully this is indicated and just exposed the fact that you don't really need to be able to sing that accurately to have a really nice product in the end where you sound like you're very accurate pitch-wise. But thank you guys for watching this video, taking a bit of a look under the hood, or the bonnet as we call it here in the UK, of the music industry, because there's a lot going on under there. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, if only for the fact that I had to sing out of key for this particular video for it to be effective, and hopefully people won't just take that little section of me singing out of key intentionally and they will reference this video and hopefully they'll hear it in context. But then again, you can't stop anything from happening on the internet nowadays, so it is what it is. But like I said, thank you for watching. Keep those suggestions and requests coming for future analysis videos in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!